When it comes to shreddy lead guitar players, Megadeth has probably one of the most impressive rooster in the whole universe of metal music. But often when talking about the guitar players of Megadeth, one lead guitar player is pretty overlooked. And today we want to pay tribute to the shredding of the man himself, Mr. Dave Mustaine. Here we go. A little disclaimer before we begin with this video. Unfortunately, the audio file from that microphone got corrupted, so the first half of that video is with the audio of the camera mics, so I'm sorry about that. It can happen the best. I still recommend to watch this video, of course, because especially when you are a beginner shred guitar player, there can be some quite useful tips in the playing of Dave Mustaine. So let's start with the video. Hey guitar champion, what's going on? I'm Mustaine back from my practice dojo and welcome to today's video. Yes, I once even made a ranking about my favorite Megadeth lead guitar players, and I didn't talk about Dave Mustaine because I never really learned something from Dave Mustaine or never really looked inside of the playing of Dave Mustaine. Unfortunately, I have to say, because I played in the last 5 years in the biggest Megadeth tribute band here in Germany, Megalife, and there of course often I had to take the role of Chris Poland, Marty Friedman, Chris Broderick or even Kiko Loureiro. The part of Dave Mustaine was all covered by our Dave Mustaine. And now, while we know, at least so far, that the chapter of Megadeth has closed and that they have released their last record, Megadeth, which in my opinion was kind of a little bit of a disappointment. You can watch my review right here if you like. Because while playing in Megalife and listening to those songs so often, I realized, wow, there's actually a pretty good idea and a pretty good concept behind the solos from Dave Mustaine. And I think it's really, really cool to check out because he's working with certain elements that not so many shred guitar players are working with. And I kind of dig that, I kind of like that. So I picked out my 5 favorite moments from Dave Mustaine's solo work. And these 5 moments, they showcase that Dave Mustaine could be extremely innovative, that he had some really cool sense in melody and in shredding, and that his solos are extremely cool to learn, especially for beginner and intermediate lead guitar players. Alright, but before we are going to the first solo, a word from my sponsor, which is you, the people who are buying the ZEN of Speedpicking, my big online masterclass about speed picking. If you want to improve your shredding when it comes to right hand speed, when it comes to precision, hand synchronization, and just basically creative ideas to use in your next solos, then I highly recommend to check out my big online masterclass, the ZEN of Speedpicking. With more than 50 licks and exercises, 10 etudes, 4 workouts for everybody who does not have much time to practice, and a bulletproof practice plan, you are prepared for the world of shredding. Finally understanding the correct mechanics of picking, techniques like pick slanting, string skipping, and much more. Check the link in the description box for more information and don't miss a chance to get the ZEN of Sweeping, my big online masterclass about sweeping with more than 18 sweep etudes that will make you from sweep beginner to sweep master for 50% off when you're buying the ZEN of Speedpicking. And now, let's check out some Dave Mustaine solos. Alright, now the first solo that I want to highlight is actually the solo of Sweating Bullets. Because in Sweating Bullets we have some really cool ideas from Dave Mustaine, especially how to write music in a triplet feeling. For example, we're starting off with a pretty cool chromatic idea. Which is a so-called 4-against-3 rhythm, because we have triplets as our subdivision, 1 to 3, 2 to 3, 3 to 3, 4 to 3, einerlei, zweierlei, dreierlei, viererlei on German, but we're playing a 4-note figure. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And after 12 notes, he's repeating it 1 string higher. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And with that we're shifting the accent of that line and creating a really, really cool rhythmical feeling. He could play basic 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but he played 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. A really interesting 4 against 3 rhythm. Then he's more in a triplet feeling in the pentatonic run. And next he's working with something that I really, really appreciate in Dave Mustaine's solo, which is motifs. He has this following motif. And now he's playing around with this kind of sequence and this kind of motif, transporting it on the descending strings, playing along with it on different strings, etc, etc. This is something that we will encounter pretty often when it comes to Dave soloing, and I think it's one of his trademarks that it's a little bit underrated, that Dave definitely knows how to play and how to work with motifs. Absolutely love that. Highly recommend that for everybody who's writing solos. Musical motifs are extremely important. And the rest stays in the triplet subdivision, but interestingly now we have a melody which is kind of more in the mid-range, really like here, the 12th fret on the E string. Before we're going to something which is also pretty common for Dave's playing, we're taking one interval and we're shifting it up chromatically, ascending. Which is already kind of an, if you want to say so, a jazzy and bluesy approach. He creates tension by taking this interval. In this case it is, what do we have here? In this case the diminished fifths, which is already an interval with a lot of tension in it. And he's moving it chromatically ascending, creating even more tension to resolve that tension to the E. Again, something that I miss in some modern players, resolving tension, but this is something that Dave is doing really, really cautious and really great in the Sweating Bullets solo. And the same kind of for the next solo, which is the Hook and Mouse solo. Well, Hook and Mouse is basically 2 solos, one by Jeff Young and the other one by Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine's solo is basically just a tapping riff and a tapping idea, but I really love how he designed that tapping kind of thing. Here we basically have 2 patterns in the left hand. And here we are moving that down chromatically as well. Which is kind of a little bit stretchy here and there. And we're adding on top of that 2 tap notes. Creating this really cool kind of line. Oh, sorry. And he's playing all of that over a really thrashy E minor rhythm guitar. Something like that. And the cool thing about the rhythm guitar is it gives him a lot of freedom. So he's not really forced to use specific notes from a specific scale, because basically we only have the E and the G really accenting in the rhythm guitar, so he only has to include those kind of E minor feeling, but he can really go outside of the scale, and that is definitely a really cool approach to create tension, to take a specific pattern and to move it down chromatically, like within the case Hook and Mouth. And god damn it, is Hook and Mouth a great banger. It's an absolutely thrash masterpiece, and I also think that the record So Far So Good So What is kinda underrated. If you want to know more about my ranking of Megadeth songs, then hop over to my Patreon channel, because there I made a full ranking of every Dream Theater record. You would be surprised which records are fantastic in my opinion. Check the link in the description box to get more information about the ZEN of Shred Patreon Academy. Alright, coming to some more innovative ideas that Dave Mustaine was doing, because he was working a lot with sequencing, with visualization on the fretboard, and with some new kind of interesting techniques. I mean, we all know the famous spider power chords. But one moment of Dave Mustaine that I absolutely love is when he is playing some really stretchy arpeggios and is helping with a thumb to reach even higher frets, like in the solo of Washington Is Next. Here he is playing a really cool harmony section together with Sean Drover back in the day. And what Dave is doing, he has a specific melody which is going through the 24th fret on the E string, and as pedal notes he always has the E and the B. So he's playing, and then he's moving to the thumb. Oh, sorry. And that is super tricky. I never practiced it because I didn't have to play this kind of section. In Mega Life I had to play the second guitar from John Drover, which was something like more traditional, usual kind of two strings arpeggios. But I think the idea using the thumb is something that we definitely have to explore a little bit more in the world of guitar. I mean, it is really heavy to have enough force on the thumb to put down the string, but I mean, for example, guitar players like Andre Nieri are really perfectly including some really interesting arpeggios with your thumb being behind the neck, or like not behind the neck, in front of the neck, actually pushing down the strings on the fretboard. But that Dave Mustaine can also write solos more in a traditional shreddy way, he perfectly showcased that in the piece Sells But Who's Buying record, especially with the song Wake Up Dad. In Wake Up Dad, the Chris Poland solo, who's actually one of my favorite lead guitar players in Megadeth, is actually quite boring. It's just like pentatonic kind of thing. I mean, yeah, Dave Mustaine is using a lot of pentatonics, but he can also use different scales, like in that solo where he is fully embellishing the Phrygian dominant scale. And that in a really fun way, because he's starting that solo with some more humorous, kind of interesting and funny lines. Something like this. And this line is actually pretty tricky for the left hand to get the switch between the middle finger and the index finger correctly done. But also it's kind of a funny humorous line before he's starting to play more kind of the Phrygian dominant scale. And he even has some more shred licks that are really inspired by, I don't know, Aldi Meola, Yngwie Malmsteen, all the shred heroes from that time. Fully using the E Phrygian dominant scale. And proving that he can play more than just simply the pentatonic. But he's also able to nearly write a whole solo only out of 4 notes and making it extremely interesting. And this leads us to... Oh, was ist da jetzt los? Jetzt haben wir nicht Speicher. This leads us to the solo of Holy Wars. And in Holy Wars he has for a really long time only these 4 notes. B flat, B, D, and E. And I'm sorry about my E. Maybe this sounds sometimes like an F, but I have to re-string the guitar desperately and have to get the fretwork a little bit refreshed. So, and he's basically playing around with these kind of 4 notes in a really cool, interesting repeating pattern, taking licks that usually would come from somebody like Kirk Hammett and expanding it to the full advantage. The second pattern goes like this. Third pattern goes like this. And then as the final pattern we have another really cool pattern that he's moving ascending chromatically. Which leads to the total passage sounding like this. Alright, and these are my 5 most favorite moments in the history of Mustaine's shredding and soloing. I highly recommend to check out his work, especially if you are a beginner lead and shred guitar player. These solo are a pretty good step between Kirk Hammett and Marty Friedman. In between that, I would say Dave Mustaine. So much for today's video. I wish you a lot of fun learning, practicing, and mastering the guitar. I hope I'm going to see you in my next video. If you like this little video, feel free to leave a nice comment, leave a like, and leave a subscribe if you want to have more videos for your shred education. Cheers and pour your progress. Bye.